State of the World Population Report was today launched, and there is a call to urgent action to reduce poverty and ensure positive development.
The Human Services Ministry starts to distribute pension books countrywide and hopes by the end of February more than 90% of the pension population could benefit.
And the captain of the United States warship that is in Guyana is dismissing claims that the ship is on a spy mission in response to increased military activity between Russia and Venezuela.
The details of these and other stories, business news, and of course the latest sporting action in the Diamond Mineral Water and NCN Sport News and more after these. Good evening, I'm Delicia Fletcher.
And I'm Paul Moore.
With this edition of the 6 o'clock news for today, Wednesday, November 12, 2008. Here's what's happening, Paul.
Thanks, Delicia. The State of the World Population Report was today launched under the theme Reaching Common Ground, Culture, Gender and Human Rights. And UNFPA Regional Representative Patrice Lafleur says the report is a call to urgent action to reduce poverty and ensure positive development outcomes. China today joined with nearly 179 countries in launching the report under the theme Reaching Common Ground, Culture, Gender and Human Rights. The report's starting point is that human rights reflect universal values. It calls for culturally sensitive approaches to development, which are essential for human rights and women's rights in particular. UNFPA Regional Director Patrice Lafleur says the report commits UNFPA to act with urgency.
There is a sense of urgency to work more effectively to reduce poverty and promote development. This report is therefore a call to action to increase cultural awareness and engagement in efforts to promote development.
Ms. Lafleur further highlighted how positive development outcomes could be achieved within the confines of the report.
It focuses specifically on culture and human rights, promoting gender equality and empowering women, reproductive health and reproductive rights, poverty, inequality, and population, as well as gender and reproductive health in conflict situations.
She says the local programming approaches must incorporate the economic, political, and social, and that cultural norms must incorporate values to enhance and respect human rights.
But values and practices that infringe human rights are found in all cultures. Embracing cultural realities can reveal the most effective ways to challenge harmful cultural practices and to strengthen beneficial ones. The intention of this report, therefore, is to demonstrate how this works.
A highlight of today's launch was a panel discussion addressing culture, masculinity and reproductive health, gender equality and empowering women, and the impact of cultural expressions on development. Among the panelists were Mr. Andrew Hicks and Al Crichton of the University of Guyana and Ms. Van der Radzik, consultant on gender and community development.
Chairman of the National Climate Change Committee, Sham Noctis, says the upcoming UN Climate Change Conference in Poland is critical to the development of a post-Kyoto Protocol framework. Shardalal now tells us that the committee has been tasked with crafting Guyana's position in this regard, which encompasses the Jaglio Initiative on Climate Change.
The National Climate Change Committee is preparing for the United Nations Climate Change Conference, which will be held in Poland this December. Chairman Sham Noctis says subcommittees within the central body have been crafting position papers and engaging with stakeholders on matters of importance. The meeting comes midway between the conference in Bali, which saw the launch of negotiations on strengthened international action, and Copenhagen, at which these are set to conclude. Noctis notes that the current agreement fails to acknowledge the importance and benefits of standing forests, something which Guyana hopes can be reversed in any new arrangement.
For us, developing countries, but in particular countries like Guyana with high forest cover, low deforestation rates, we are pushing strongly to ensure that in any successor agreement that is expected by next year in Copenhagen, that forests are included in a substantive way to ensure that there is the establishing of a market-based mechanism.
While there is a strong international interest in the Jagdeo Initiative on Climate Change, Nocta says there is need for this to be translated into action. As such, he says discussions are ongoing at a bilateral level to determine the best way forward.
But we are really in a phase of negotiation, and we're looking to work with partners who are out there, like-minded partners who will want to come on board with us to look specifically on some of these issues, and in particular on the issue of our standing forests and our approach, recognizing the critical nature of avoided deforestation.
President Bharat Jagdeo is slated to host a national consultation on Guyana's position at the conference to address concerns and issues. Meanwhile, in a bid to promote greater efficiency, the operations of the National Climate Change Committee will be shifted to the office of the President early next year. Reporting for the 6 o'clock news, I'm Sharda Lal.
Guyana is among 10 CARICOM countries to participate in the 2010 World Exposition in China. CARICOM Secretary General Dr. Edwin Carrington is on a one-week visit to China and is set to sign an agreement to allow the 10 Caribbean nations to take part in the forum to be held in Shanghai. Edwin Lane reports.
CARICOM Secretary General Dr. Edwin Carrington arrived in China on Sunday last and met with Chinese Foreign Minister Yang Jiechi, Vice Minister of Commerce Ma Zhuhong, and Yu Hung Qing, Vice Chair of the National People's Congress. On both days, discussions centered in cooperation between China and CARICOM, and the Secretary General said that the Chinese officials agreed to give careful consideration to contributing to the CARICOM Development Fund. The $250 million fund was established to provide financial and technical assistance to disadvantaged regions, countries and sectors within CARICOM's single market and economy. Carrington said the discussions are taking place against the backdrop of China's recently issued policy paper on Latin America and the Caribbean, and that country becoming a member of the Inter-American Development Bank. Dr. Carrington will be holding cooperation talks with several senior government officials in that country. He is expected to sign an agreement in Shanghai later this week for CARICOM's joint participation in the 2010 World Exposition in that city. Earlier today, he participated in discussions with respect to arrangements being put in place for the World Exposition, with emphasis on the plans for CARICOM's participation. While in Shanghai, Dr. Carrington will take the opportunity on Friday to sign the leading participation agreement on behalf of the region. 10 CARICOM member states have indicated that they will be participating in the Shanghai World Exposition. These are Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Haiti, Jamaica, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago. The Secretary General is the Commissioner General of the Community for the Exposition. This summit follows President Bharat Jagdeo's recent participation in the World Economic Forum in the country last month, being the only CARICOM nation invited. Edward Lane, the 6 o'clock news.